Episode 7. This is the Rich Report, bringing you the richest content across entertainment. Welcome back to the channel. Yes, we are on YouTube as well now, the full show. And this time around, David brought up a good point last night while we were putting the show together. We're going to timestamp every topic we discuss so that in case you don't care about Formula One, we can go and just watch the UFC portion where we talk about the end of the show. Johnny Crane and David Church joining as always. Gentlemen, how are you doing on this lovely Monday afternoon?
I'm doing good. My girlfriend got me into watching Love Island Australia, so I've been on that for a little bit. And you know what? I will say it's 10 times better than The Bachelor can do anything. So that's basically been my weekend, and it's been great. So we're doing great. Doing it good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I mean, it's about as good as a Monday would be going. I mean, speaking of summer reality TV shows, Cameron, we need Big Brother. That's what we need. It's summer.
We do need Big Brother. They're planning on doing it. It's supposed to be an all-star season this year. So, yeah, we need to get that started. Hopefully, whoever they're bringing on, they all get tested. They all get, tested negatively. And so we go and we have a Big Brother season because I love the show just as much as you do. It's a great show. Great show.
Survivor over Big Brother any day.
Survivor's great, but it's not Big Brother, Chief.
Yeah, you're right. Survivor's better.
Okay.
Stop.
We are going to start the show because it was a very happy morning for me. Very, very happy. I had no reason to watch my Manchester City, play because they can't win Premier League because Liverpool already clinched that, and whatever position they came in league, they weren't going to be in Champions League for the next 2 years. So I really didn't care. But now, thanks to UEFA, Man City wins their appeal, and they're back in it, which makes the Premier League final, the battle for the top 4, even more interesting with Chelsea, Leicester City, Manchester United, and Sheffield all in the running. Johnny, I know you're quite salty about this, so I'll start with you on just your thoughts on Man City getting back eligible to compete in Champions League for the future.
All right, it all revolves around financial fair play, okay? If you're an owner and you own a professional team, such as Man City, and you also own, say, a professional airline, financial fair play says you shouldn't use money that you make from the airline to fund Man City, the team that you own, okay? Now, in that regard, this seems kind of a stretch. Now, to be fair, I don't know the specifics, and I do not know how much money was used from said airline, from the other business to fund Man City. It might have been minimal. If that was the case, then okay, I get it. But if this was a significant amount, that's a little bit of a stretch. And I don't want to say everything is corrupt and the Premier League's corrupt and everything, but this seems a little sketchy. But let's forget the lawyer stuff, forget the financial stuff. Let's look at the Premier League table itself. With Man City being back in the Champions League fold next year, when you look at the rest of the table, Chelsea is at 60 points. Manchester United is right on their heels. Wolverhampton is at about 55 points. So you have a nice competition there. And then, of course, you have Leicester City, who completely was terrible against Bournemouth. So for that final spot, for the final 2 spots, that is, it's going to be very interesting moving forward to see who comes out and is in the Champions League and who goes into the Europa League. Because I can tell you, whoever is in the Europa League, it's going to be a tough loss. And that team is not going to like being in the Europa League when they were 1 to 2 points away from being in the Champions League. So this news in itself is very, very significant when you look at the Premier League table.
David, you have anything you want to add?
What is Europa?
It is like...
I wasn't actually asking. Don't.
Well, okay. Never mind, because David hates soccer. I forgot.
I don't hate soccer. I just don't understand.
New York Red Bulls.
100%. Yeah. See, you got it. I liked soccer when I was, 5, like everyone did, but now I'm good. I got no real sports to watch. Actually, real quick, I saw a tweet that said if you could get rid of one sport and COVID-19 would be eradicated, why is baseball still going on? I'm like, excuse you, sir. soccer is still alive. How dare you say that when soccer's still going on? We should get rid of soccer to make sure COVID-19 never happens again, 100%.
Yes, soccer or football, the correct term. Or if we want to look at the modern NBA, I mean, if we can keep college basketball around, then NBA could probably go.
That's a shot right there. That's a shot. Dang.
Moving on, the Washington Redskins officially no longer going by the Redskins. The logo and team name will be changed at a later date, but it's a long time coming for the Washington team. And here's the thing already. You look at a name that's been thrown around like the Red Tails. It's a win-win for everybody, whether you want a more progressive name, whether you want to keep that, HTTR hashtag, everybody wins here. You get a name that's progressive. It honors a great group of men in the Tuskegee Airmen. And plus, you keep, a part of the old name, but it's not racist this time. Washington Red Tails works every way possible. A bland name that is the most generic and easy to pull for any sports team, whether it be youth sports, high school, college, whatever level. There's no unique branding you can make off of that name, and so why not go all out, go unique with the Red Tails? Or if you want to be fun, our friend Cade Reed, we threw out team names that started with W, like the Wombats and the Wallabies. So it's, obviously those aren't going to happen, but still, you can make branding off of those names. You're not going to get any branding from going with the Warriors. It's too bland. It's too generic. So I'll throw it to you two. What are we naming this Redskins team? I know in previous episode, John and I talked about the Cleveland Indians changing their name, but I don't think we talked about the Redskins. So I'll start with Johnny here. What are we changing the Redskins name to?
As someone who has been to the nation's capital, I've done the Smithsonian, I've done all of that. When you think of what a capital of a nation is supposed to be, a capital is supposed to encompass the entire nation, including all races, ethnicities, and creeds, and so on. And when you look at the Washington Red Tails name, well, what does the Smithsonian have? Something called the Air and Space Museum. When you look not too far away, there's another museum that has other World War II memorabilia, such as the Enola Gay. So I think if you take the Red Tails, you not only honor a specific group of people that served in World War II, you honor a certain ethnicity in African Americans, which I think needs a lot of publicity, and it would definitely help in the progressive movement to help get better equality in this country. So I believe it is a win-win, whether you look at it from the hashtag or if you look at it from the progressive nature that you mentioned too. The Red Tails honors World War II veterans, and it honors World War II veterans that were African American. It's a win-win-win when you look at it. I mean, it's a unique name. No other team has it. When you think of the Warriors, aside from the Golden State super team that they had a few years back, if you think of the term Warriors, to me it screams high school. It seems very boring, very bland, very vanilla. Red Tails, it pops. It really comes out, and it really honors something that's very specific and very unique that you really won't get elsewhere that you would with the Warriors. So I think Red Tails is the slam dunk home run here.
Yeah, no complaining here on that one too. I think that's the clear, obvious favorite to be the new name. And when you kind of do more research and when you look up, what kind of the Tuskegee Airmen were and look at their planes, the color scheme both on the back of the plane and where the propeller is, it's a red and kind of yellowish look, which is kind of what the Redskins are going for, but minus the maroon and yellowish that they have now. But that could 100% work. And when you think about it, just as not just the history is in itself. It's perfect. It brings light to a glorious group of people and group of men that put their lives on the line to fight for this country. It also, think about the logo possibilities and the uniform possibilities. That's enough to get me excited about it, because this brings so many different ideas that you can do and new concepts that you can come up with to figure something out. I think Red Tails is obviously the clear favorite. I don't think we're going to find anything else that really, pops the way the Red Tails does, like Johnny said. And it just makes perfect sense. And I do want to point out that Bleacher Report came out with a story that a guy went on and trademarked a bunch of names that Washington could name their new football team. And let's just applaud the genius of this guy, because Red Tails is on there, And if the Washington team wants to name their new team the Red Tails, they're going to have to pay that dude a lot of money to get that trademark. So applaud that man for beating the system and finding a way to get him some nice clear cash to actually see if he can, swing a deal with an NFL team.
It was a wild weekend in racing once again. We're going to start with the NASCAR Cup Series, and oh my gosh, they went 4 wide for the win on the final lap. Ryan Blaney, Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and rookie Cole Custer pulling off one of the most daring moves I've seen for a win. And he pulled it off, got the lead on the outside lane, and ran away with the victory, the first of his career in what was really, for the first 245 laps, a pretty awful race. Both the last two have been terrible at Kentucky for the most part, but those final 2 laps of both races made up for it. Granted, the racing still sucks regardless, but a lot of the action you see with this aero package and at a garbage track like Kentucky is going to come from bringing everybody back together for a restart. Johnny, you had full lap by lap coverage of this, so your thoughts on the race and what Cole Custer's win does for him.
Like you said, Cameron, let's not say that 2 laps makes a great race. Okay, Kentucky is still not good, but when you look at the restart, Cole Custer started in 6th. And what really does not get talked about during that sequence in those final 2 laps was Matt DiBenedetto. When you think of the restart at Kentucky, you want to get pushes from cars behind you, and that's what Matt DiBenedetto did for Cole Custer, helped him get onto that outside lane. That's factor number 1. Factor number 2 is if Kevin Harvick, it's a game of inches, it's a race of inches. If Harvick clears Martin Truex Jr. by another inch, Harvick does not get loose there, and he might go away and win that race. But he got loose there, and shoeing contact with Martin Truex coming out of the next turn also made Harvick loose once more. And what gives Custer a really daring move here, and what he did was that the outside lane he was taking was blocked to start. But eventually, with all the contact between Truex and Harvick, that lane started to open, and he finally got that traction compound and really took off. And thus, he got his first career win at the Cup Series level. So there were a lot of factors that had to play into how that scenario played out and how Custer eventually got that win. But even if a lot of those factors were out of Custer's control, it's still a great win for Custer. When you think of the rookie class this year, pretty much it's only been the Tyler Reddick and Christopher Bell show for the most part. Cole Custer really wasn't in that echelon of group when you compare those 2 drivers to the other rookies. So with this win, he actually is now a step above them and actually has a win, which they don't have. So great for him. You can't really say anything else. Parity, that's what we need, right?
Yeah, that was that was the exciting point of the race, and probably one of the most exciting points that I've seen since I've started watching NASCAR. You normally don't see 4 drivers go 4 wide to try and win in the final 2 laps of a race. But I think if Ryan Blaney doesn't get, shoved down to the bottom of the track and then comes up and, bumps Harvick pretty good, and Harvick gets some issues going on, back of his car starts smoking up, and the finish may have been a little different, but no, that's nothing to take away from Cole Custer. He read the opportunity, was able to get a good push, and was able to pull it towards the end. Martin Truex was obviously the favorite to win. I believe he's at least a 2-time winner at Kentucky, and it was a perfect race run by him. It just wasn't able to be in the cards for him. Harvick did not have a good race car the entire day, though. So I was surprised when he was able to come up into those top spots, and was like, oh man, he might win this. And I mean, it was good action for the most part, but I mean, it's still, like you said, Kentucky is not the greatest racetrack, and that wasn't, the most fun race. I just had it on in the background while I was, playing my PS4. So it was fun, but then once it got to the end, you're like, okay, this is starting to pick up a bit. Congratulations to Cole Custer, great win, and that was, good to see a rookie kind of get some recognition in the Cup Series.
Yeah, and with Cole Custer's win, he was 23rd in regular points, I believe, coming into that race. But now with his win, he's locked into the playoffs, and it, completely changes the playoff picture. I think 2 guys that need to be concerned and need to start picking up good finishes, especially on 1.5s, that's Kyle Busch and Jimmy Johnson. Granted, I think Kyle Busch will do enough to get into the playoffs just because he does have the best team, the best equipment, but I don't know what's happened to him on 1.5s. He's just not competitive at all. And he started on the pole for the race and still had problems all day long. And if that keeps racking up for the end of the season, he's not great at Daytona, which is the final race of the regular season. And if he cannot rack up wins, say when we go to New Hampshire, and yeah, most of these tracks, coming up, Dover, he's gonna need to run well. That's a big low downforce weekend, a doubleheader. He needs to perform well there. But tracks like Michigan, and Michigan is coming up. Yes, Michigan is coming up. He's gonna need pull off top 10 finishes, or else he's going to be one of those bubble guys come Daytona. And Daytona, it's a wild card race, and yeah. And Jimmy Johnson, just completely bad luck. I didn't like the move Brad made, because if you watch the next restart after, Brad gives Harvick a push and doesn't dive down on him. He did get a good run on Harvick, but just pushed him instead. And had they gone 3 wide into that corner, I don't think Brad makes the corner, and he washes up the racetrack and takes out Johnson and whoever was on the outside of him. So I think Brad is at fault for turning Jimmy. Jimmy didn't know he was going to try to pull that off. So it was just instinctual. It's a, quick, tenth of a second decision to make, and Johnson gets spun. So those two are going to need to pick it up, or we could be looking at a playoff with no Kyle Busch or Jimmy Johnson. It would just be insane and completely sad, because this is Jimmy Johnson's final season in the Cup Series. Moving on to Formula One. It was another wild day in the mid-pack. Lewis Hamilton with the legendary qualifying lap to earn the pole. He would go wire to wire to win the race, moving 6 wins away from passing Michael Schumacher for all-time wins in Formula One. However, the conversation moves to Ferrari. More mistakes. Lap 1 mistake in turn 3 as Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel get together, and by lap 3, both Ferraris were out of the race. Terrible points day, just disastrous for a team with 2 quality drivers. It's not a good look for Ferrari, but who's been looking great to start the season? Lightning Lando Norris, having 2 GOAT final laps, going from P8 to P5 yesterday. And obviously in the opening race, he landed on the podium after Lewis Hamilton's 5-second penalty. So great start for Norris this season, but disaster for Ferrari. Your thoughts? We will start with Johnny.
So when you look at Ferrari and what they did last season compared to this season, now to start, when you think of COVID-19, COVID-19 has affected every sports team, every manufacturer, every driver, every player, every athlete out there. And when you look at what Ferrari was wanting to do in the offseason, leading up to when COVID-19 hit, they wanted to implement a lot more upgrades to their car moving forward into this season. But unfortunately, with COVID-19, it shut down the factories, it shut down the manufacturing. So they really weren't able to implement the new upgrades they wanted to get. And as a result, they sort of had to go with a brand new design on the spot for their car. They had to pretty much whip it out of the air with the snap of their fingers. They didn't have any time to plan. They didn't have any time to really look into the upgrades of the new car they were trying to get. They just had to do it because COVID-19 forced them to do it. And when you look at their results this year, yes, Ferrari did start in the teens. And when you look at the teens, when you start in 10th, 12th in that range, you get really jumbled up with the other cars, and that leads to potential wrecks like what happened in this race. But going back to the mechanical issues, they had to bring a brand new car from the spot. And unfortunately for Ferrari, due to COVID to a degree, they've had to sacrifice speed, which was their bread and butter last year. They had to sacrifice speed for reliability. But unfortunately, that reliability hasn't really paid off because, well, they wrecked. So unfortunately, now that's not to take all of the heat off Ferrari. The speed still isn't there, and you can sort of mitigate some of that with better driving, especially in the middle of the pack. But with COVID-19 affecting the car, affecting the off-season, not being able to implement upgrades for this season, it puts them at a disadvantage. And when you have to sacrifice upside with reliability, then that just further mitigates your car, and it doesn't give your car that high ceiling upside that it would have, say, last year. So tough for Ferrari so far. Still plenty of time to turn it around, but unfortunately, there are some instances where stuff is out of their control, and that has hurt them.
I just want to point out it's almost unfair at this point how good Mercedes is. Like, it's just, I know Hamilton didn't come up with the win in the opening race of the season, but still, like, Mercedes is always going to be at the top no matter what. Hamilton is probably going to go down as one of the greatest F1, if not the best greatest F1 driver of all time, when his career is over. And it's just, at this point, it's just complete domination. I'm waiting to see, Verstappen come up in there and get some more, pole positions and top and P1 positions. But I mean, he still ran a great race and third, came out for the Red Bull team. But Mercedes taking 1 and 2. It's a showing of how good they are and how good they're probably going to be for the remainder of the race. And freaking Ferrari, man, like, you got the worst thing to do in F1 is go into it with both of your drivers running into each other. It's the worst. The worst thing that can possibly happen. And it just shows that, like, they need to be on the same page, and their drivers are having issues, and it's just they got to work it out somehow. But Mercedes, again, they're going to take the cake every time at this point because they're just too good.
Also, shout out Chip Ganassi Racing in IndyCar. That team is 4 for 4 on the season to begin. Scott Dixon winning the first 3 races, won the first race at Road America on Saturday. And then Felix Rosenquist with a great comeback on Paddle Award with 2 laps to go to score his first career victory. So fun weekend all around in racing. We're going to let Johnny go here by talking about a little thing that just irks me, and that is Tim Anderson. Now, this is not a disrespect on him as a player. I think he's a tremendous player, and it's good to see a black player thriving in Major League Baseball. However, that does not escape the fact that you cannot make yourself look like, and I'm going to say this, I don't care, age restrict this or not, he looks like an ass whenever he throws the bat. He looks like a total ass. I'm sorry. It's disrespectful to your teammates in a inter-squad match with nothing on the line to, on a home run, throw your bat like it's the first home run you've ever had in your career. Or it's Jose Bautista clutch in the playoffs. I'm sorry. There's no place for that in the sport. I have nothing against bat flipping, guys pimping home runs. That's fun and all. But when you throw your bat, you are just asking to get hit. You're asking for a fight. That's what it is. It's pretty much you staring at someone, at a random person in public. You might as well do that and just stare at them and say, just make them feel as uncomfortable as possible. And then they go, "What you looking at?" That's what it is. It's just gross. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and it's got to stop. And I know you two are gonna roast me, so go ahead, rip me apart.
Johnny, do you know who this boomer is that got into our podcast? Because, I mean, I thought we were the new age baseball fans. We want to see these kind of things. We want to see players have action and want to see players have fun. I'm 100% in on Tim Anderson.
I'm not against fun. I'm saying throwing your bat. I have nothing against pimping. I have nothing against bat flipping. Chucking your bat in a non-clutch situation when you're on a back marker team does no good. No good. There's no reason for it.
Tim Anderson needs to be the voice of baseball at this point. Mike Trout and Bryce Harper can be the face of baseball, but Tim Anderson needs to be the voice of baseball. He needs to be the one to come out and say, stop crying when someone pimps a home run on you. Get over it. It's baseball. It's fun. And I actually really disagree with you on the idea that you shouldn't do this to your teammates. I think if you're going to do it to anybody, it should be your teammates. Because if it's your teammates, they'll understand, oh, dude, he's having fun. Like, I don't care. Whoever the pitcher was, he probably is just, some, I don't know, minor leaguer trying to make the team on this new 60 squad rules. And who cares? Like, if you're going to see that, I would be like, if I was the pitcher and Tim Anderson did that to me and he, pimped it, chucked the bat, threw it into the stands, I would say, dude, that's a great hit. Like, I made a mistake. It's on me. That's fun. Like, it's on the players to get over it and stop thinking of themselves so highly that some guy can't have fun when they do something good off of them. Baseball players have such, they're so silent, but they also have the biggest ego, especially pitchers, when something happens against them that they don't like. it is a problem that needs to be fixed. They need to get over it. If they want baseball to look cool and not be, looked at as the fans as the sport that we should get rid of so in order COVID doesn't come back, like they should show that they want to have fun and get over it. Have a coalition where it's like, dude, do whatever you want. Let's have fun.
Okay. First off, I'm looking out. I just looked out the lawn. The front lawn's right here. Okay. I think someone's on it. He might need to get off of it. I think he needs to get off of the lawn. What do you think, Cameron?
I'm not a boomer, okay? I'm just going by what I've been taught growing up in baseball, coaching some little league guys. It's just it's just there's a respect you should have for everybody on the field. I just don't think throwing a bat is a good sign of that. It's not out. To me, it's disrespectful, I think.
That is a fair point. I will say, when you're growing up in little league, you should not be taught how to bat flip. You should be taught the fundamentals. When you get older, then you can start, doing some things that maybe your little league coach didn't teach you. But when you're younger, growing up, learn the fundamentals.
Look, I know Tim Anderson, if he wasn't bat flipping, he wouldn't be relevant because the White Sox are an irrelevant team. They've been irrelevant for the last 15 years. So you got to make yourself a name on a team that's, MLB already has a marketing problem, and sure as hell nobody on the White Sox is going to get any of that airtime, so you might as well do something crazy. And guess what? Tim Anderson, you win, but it's time to stop.
I disagree with that a little bit on the White Sox being irrelevant. I mean, yeah, they're not doing well, but look at Luis Robert and look at their farm system. Look at Yohan Moncada. Like, look at all those guys who they have. Like, they could be something.
David, we're baseball fans. We know this. People know Tim Anderson outside of baseball simply because he threw the bat. They don't care about his average. They don't care what team he's on. The people know Michael Kopech is? No. They know who Tim Anderson is because he threw a bat in a game against the Royals. That's it. That's my problem.
You're talking general audience. Okay, I got you now. I got you. Boomer.
Okay. When you look at what baseball is today, we need better marketing. However, if you want to get the younger audience interested, you have to have, to some degree, a little bit of some zest, a little bit of some explosiveness. And for better or worse, bat flipping does provide that. Now, in a game setting, I'll make that clear, a game setting, I do not care what you do with your bat. Flip it, throw it, javelin it, whatever. If the pitcher makes a bad pitch, if they hang a curveball and you destroy breaking balls and you smash that thing for 500 feet, by golly, you should do whatever you want with that bat. Make a better pitch next time. With that said, however, from this intra-squad standpoint that Tim Anderson did, I do have a little bit of an issue. Not a huge issue. It just seems a little weird, a little odd that you would do that in an intra-squad setting. Now, it is true, it is potentially fair that all of these players on the roster know each other. I mean, some of them have come up through the minor leagues with each other. Some of them were drafted in the same year as each other. Some of them have been on the major league roster for several years now. However, David, you did mention it. Let's say that the pitcher, I don't know who the pitcher that pitched that particular ball to Anderson in which he javelined the bat. I don't know. I'd have to dig into that. Let's say, for instance, though, that it was a minor leaguer. Let's say this minor leaguer, remember, the minor leagues are canceled this year. Let's say that minor leaguer has not been in the major leagues and he's vying for playing time because, again, the minor leagues are canceled. The only way he's going to get playing time is if it's on the major league roster. Let's say that minor leaguer does not know Tim Anderson that well. He didn't get drafted with him. Hasn't really spent a lot of time with him because he's been in the minors while Anderson has been in the majors. If that's the case, and if Anderson and this potential minor league pitcher do not know each other, how would you take it if you are that minor league pitcher and you throw that pitch and Anderson completely shows you up and embarrasses you? Again, you're trying to fight for major league time. And I know they're professional players, but you can't tell me that that has a somewhat of an impact mentally and psychologically on that pitcher's confidence moving forward. Could I be wrong or could I be right?
I mean, of course, obviously it could affect his, the mentality of the pitcher, but at the same time, don't throw pitches like that if you don't want to get pimped on. It's that simple. I don't care if you're Max Scherzer to a minor leaguer. Don't throw a pitch down the middle that a dude like Tim Anderson can hit really far and can show you up if you don't want that to happen to you. And if you're, like you said, if you're a minor leaguer trying to make the team, don't throw that pitch because it's not going to look good for you. It's that simple. Do what you can to look good. I would rather you walk a guy than throw one down the middle where Tim Anderson can jump out on to get a score on you and show you up like that. It's on the player. It's on the pitcher. Don't get me wrong. Some people don't like it, but it's that simple. If you don't want guys to pimp on you, if you don't want guys to bat flip on you, don't throw pitches that they can hit out like that. It's that simple.
Now, I can get that to a degree. I get it. If you're a minor leaguer, you shouldn't throw that pitch. He learned, and it's better to learn that now, I'll admit, better to learn to not throw a meatball down the middle in an intra-squad game as opposed to, say, game 60 of the Major League season with a wild card spot on the line. Makes sense. I get it. But, Cameron, I do disagree with you that I think bat flips and everything, like you said, if Rob Manfred is not going to market his players, okay, if he's not going to do it, then unfortunately, for better or worse, the bat flips will.
All right, whatever. Go get to work. Johnny is going to leave us now. Thanks for being on. It's just going to be David and I for the rest of the show talking about UFC 251. So, Johnny, we're going to kick you out here real quick. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
All right, David, it is just you and me. Fight Island debuted, although it's just on Yas Island in Abu Dhabi, where the UFC has held events before. UFC 251. I would say throughout the whole card, it was a quality card. It was fast-paced. It kept going and going and going. We had a lot of finishes early on. And then we get to the title fights. Granted, all of them were 5 rounds. So if you go all 5 rounds, or at least get to the 5th, it's going to drag. And yes, those 3 title fights did kind of drag on. They weren't bad fights at all. All 3 of them had quality to them. But when you get 3 straight 5-rounders in a row, it feels like 4 hours it took for just those 3 fights to finish. We're going to start, though, with one fight that was just incredible. It got Fight of the Night honors. Jessica Andrade and Rose Namajunas in their rematch from a title fight from last year where Andrade landed a really horrific slam on Rose, knock her out, take the title from her. Of course, Weili Zhang in Andrade's first title defense would go on to win the title, and we all know how good Weili is. However, it was good to see Rose back. This was her first fight since losing that one, and it delivered on all levels. This is about what I expected had they gone the full distance in their first fight. Rose just it's a different level, man. Those strawweights, the top 4 of Zhang, Andrade, Namajunas, and Ioana, just complete absolute legends. I mean, you could throw them in title fights any day of the week, and they're going to put on a quality fight every time any 4 of them are put up against each other. So your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, dude, the women's strawweight division in the UFC is absolutely stacked. It's almost unfair what kind of possibilities we can get as fans to see who's going to take out and try to, take Weili Zhang's title from her. But, dude, Rose probably has the most fitting nickname in the UFC. She's literally a thug. She does not care.
Rose!
Exactly. Daniel Cormier to the best. Like, he literally Thug Rose, she just knows what she's doing, and she has she has a great corner behind her too. She has a great group of guys and a great team that's able to, support her fighter, and it's just, she was great throughout the entire fight, and really, I think it was the right decision 100%, which will lead me into my next talking point. We'll skip through the Petr Yan. And actually, you know what? We'll talk about an interesting decision in the Petr Yan and Jose Aldo fight, because the ref decided to just let Jose Aldo get mangled for that entire time. I don't think he should be fired, but it was because, like, the situation was tough on that one for me. Like, I thought it could have been stopped at least, a minute and a half before it did, but at the same time, it kind of looked like Jose was trying to protect himself. He wasn't fighting back, but he looked like he was trying to protect himself. He was still moving around a bit, trying to get better position. It was a tough call, but I think, Puerto is great. He's going to be a good champion until Aljamain Sterling gets his chance, because Aljamain Sterling is coming, and I'm a big Sterling fan, and I think he definitely could put up a fight against Peter Yan.
Yeah, I mean, that was just gross to watch. Just Jan keep pummeling and pummeling all day. You could see the blood just keep spilling out. It was just, Mark Goddard. I love Mark Goddard to death, but he's got to step in and stop these fights. I think it was Goddard on that fight. It might have been a different.
It wasn't
one.
Goddard. It was a different guy. I don't remember who.
I know Goddard. I think he might have stopped one late as well. That
Goddard had the main event. I know that, but I don't know who was the ref for the Puerto and Jose Aldo fight. But whoever he is, he probably isn't going to get that many more chances in the UFC anyways, because Dana White hated it 100%.
Now we get to the co-main event, and look, before we get into this, let's just get this out of the way. Close fights cannot be robberies. I am sorry. You cannot. It's disrespectful to the guy that wins to say, oh, well, you lost the fight clearly. If for it to be a robbery, it has to be a clear decision. There has to be, this. It's not a robbery as, let's just say, Cejudo beating Demetrius Johnson, because, I've never been more upset over a decision in UFC history, because Demetrius Johnson obviously is one of my favorite fighters ever. Cejudo was just beneath him, and Mighty Mouse, as a champion, did enough to beat off the challenger, and I don't know what happened. I have no idea how that decision got made, but here we are now. But it was good to see Holloway look like his prime self in the first 2 rounds. Knocked down Volkanovski a couple of times, but Max Holloway somehow just, it's not the guy we saw against Brian Ortega. For 5 straight rounds, he just could not keep the pressure mounted. I think that fight in the 4th round, or at the end it was either the end of the 3rd or end of the 4th, because it was a doctor's stoppage. But Holloway just wasn't applying the pressure that we usually see he delivers in every single round. Volkanovski would use his strength to finally start taking advantage. And in the 5th round, Volkanovski clearly won that. And that 5th round is a big deciding factor in a close fight like this. And Holloway just didn't do enough, I think, to take the win. Now, you could have had it 48-47 Holloway, but at the same time, you have to recognize that in the championship round, if you're the challenger, you have to definitively win it. You cannot leave it in question. If it's close in the stats, it's unlikely that you're going to win those rounds. So, David, your thoughts on the decision, and do you think Holloway should have won the fight?
I kind of go back and forth on it, because it was really just such a close fight. Like, it really could have gone either way. But I kind of look at it in the sense of, like, if an NFL team challenges a play and the refs can't find, enough clear, convincing evidence to overturn it, then they're going to stick to what they have. I think that's what the judges did at UFC at 251. I think Volkanovski had, he was the champion coming in. It was too close to really call. So instead of, making a grand decision to crown a new champion, I think they just kind of kept it at Volkanovski. And that's nothing. That's no mark on Volkanovski. He, fought a great fight. It was close, so close in between. In the beginning rounds, I had Holloway winning it. I think he was doing more damage. I think he was being the more active fighter. But then, once the later rounds came in, and Holloway knows this more than anyone. He had over 8, 9, 5-round fights in his career, even more. And he should know that you have to turn it up in the 4th and 5th rounds, no matter how tired you are. And Volkanovski just came out, and he was, the guy to prove, like, hey, I beat this dude, and I'm going to beat him again, and I'm going to keep my title. It was a great fight. It was a great fight, but I think, and I agree with what you said completely, that it can't be a robbery, because either one, I was going to be happy with the decision either way. I think Volkanovski is going to continue to, be the king of the featherweights for a little bit longer until, a real contender shows up. But other than that, I think it was still a great fight. And then leading into the main event, which, I am
not about to have you say on our show that Kamaru Usman is a boring fighter. I'm not taking it.
No,
I'm not having it.
I love Usman. I'm an Usman fan. I like him.
Thank you.
100%. But I think the thing so we'll get into the main event right now with Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. The biggest thing about this, if this wasn't a short notice fight for Masvidal, it would have been completely different for me. It was complete domination by Usman for the most part. It was a unanimous decision. It should be a unanimous decision. Masvidal came out swinging in the first round, 100%. He was trying to just hit him quick, but then, Usman's, grappling and jiu-jitsu were just top tier at this point now, where he was able to grab a kick from him real quick and put him down. And Masvidal was, if he didn't have that huge weight cut and the short notice where he only had about a week to prepare fully for a fight like this, I think it would have been a huge different story. I think we got a good prelude of what a real Jorge Gamebred Masvidal and Kamaru Nigerian Nightmare Usman can really be. I think Masvidal just needs to go down and, get a couple more wins until he's fully ready, and then they run it back. Whether it be title fight or non-title fight, if Usman stays champion for however long, I think that could be a great fight as long as Masvidal has the right time to prepare. And let's also give it to him because, like we said, huge weight cut and very short notice. He still went 5 full rounds, and he was tired. He was still going at it no matter what. He was not about to give up on any situation. It's not in him. It's not his style. And it still was a good showing of a guy who's not afraid to get in there and is not going to quit. And I think the only issue was if this wasn't a short notice fight, it would have been so much better. But we got what we got. I still think it is a better main event than we would have gotten against Gilbert Burns. But it was still, a Fight Island went off pretty good. And for your first time when, the media's coming at you like, oh, Fight Island is stupid, it's a joke, it's whatever, it still went off pretty much without a hitch. It was still a great card.
Yes, and also before we end this, shout out to Amanda Hebos. Great submission victory over Paige Van Zandt. Van Zandt just, I think, out of her league now in the UFC. She could probably win against unranked women, but there's the top of the top in what they do, and then there's the Paige Van Zandts of the world, which, I want to call out because this was an absolute joke when I first saw it. Darren Rovell, who was the, marketing money, guru on Twitter, said one time last July, Amanda Nunes is not as marketable as Paige Van Zandt, which was quite possibly, especially now, seeing Van Zandt lose in this fashion, is quite possibly the worst tweet in sports Twitter history. It's absurd. It's racist in a way because it's saying that, oh, well, Paige Van Zandt's this hot white woman and Amanda Nunes is LGBTQ and she's Brazilian. It's a very bad tweet to make, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Amanda Nunes is going to go down as the greatest fighter in women's history, and Paige Van Zandt's not. Just in
women's history, she has a good claim at being the best fighter.
Being the GOAT at all, yeah, overall. That's a great point to make, not just for women, but for all fighters, really, because she's just that dominant. So, yeah, just wanted to point out the stupidity at that tweet.
Yeah, and I think after last night, Paige Van Zandt might be, it might be time to move away from the UFC a bit. I don't think she just hasn't had the track record that everyone thought she would have. And I was excited to see her fight. And then, submission in the first round. It's just, I think she should maybe try out Bellator, maybe try out ONE FC, see what she can do. And I just, find new ways to make money in the UFC, in the fighting game. But with after last night or Saturday night, I think Paige Van Zandt might need some time away from the UFC a bit just to kind of, reclaim a mojo and reclaim a little bit of what was expected of her. I think she needs to face maybe a little bit competition that isn't as, stacked or her, a top level. I think she needs to get some more confidence in her before she's ready to come back. And I think she just needs, time to really figure out, like, what am I doing here? What are my goals? And it's tough because I like Van Zandt, but if she keeps losing, then there's no point in keeping her around,
Stop making corny dance videos on social media.
Yeah. Fair point.
Also, shout out before we end the show, shout out Yuri Prochazka, who comes in from Risen and ran over Volkan with a beautiful knockout. Prochaska versus, I know I'm butchering that name, but I'll get it right for later shows. Throw him against Johnny Walker next.
Whoa. That would be, dude, Johnny Walker's got to prove himself after that last loss he had.
Yeah, the Corey. I think he hasn't fought since that Corey Anderson fight. I don't think.
I don't think he has either. He might be hurt or something. He seems like he's always hurt. Like I think Johnny Walker needs to. That could be a good fight. I'm waiting for
100%. Let me check the record real quick. No, he actually lost a decision to Nikita Krylov in March and the last card before COVID hit. So, nice. Yeah, I mean, it could be a potentially good. It's a good stylistic matchup. Both of them like standing and trading, so Walker could get that. Dubby needs to get back on track after a very stellar start to his UFC run.
Also, real quick, UFC 252, The Sugar Show coming back, episode 5. It is on. The Sugar Show is live and in color. It is going to be incredible. He's going to take Cheeto Vera and put his face on the mat. It's going to be beautiful. You gotta love it.
That's just a great fight overall. It's a fun card too. I mean, Pedro Munoz and Frankie Edgar. My God.
Junior Dos Santos and Rosenstruck in the co-main. Co-main and main event and fights are both heavyweight. You know that's going to be huge.
Are you finally going to come to my apartment and watch a card, please?
In August? I mean, depends.
Please.
I mean, depends. Do you want me over? Are you?
Yes, I do want you over.
Can I make a move on me? Is this what's happening?
Maybe.
Oh my God!
Sorry.
All right, let's end the show.
That will do it for episode 7. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already, or subscribe to the podcast if you're listening on Apple or Spotify. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on Wednesday.